Hey, how you doing? My name is Dr. Stephen Oliver Vaughn, and today I'll be talking to you about qualitative research as jazz. As a professional jazz musician and scholar, I discovered a relationship between data collection and qualitative research and the cultural learning process of learning jazz music. Today I will discuss the environment, inaction, and the hang. First, the environment. The environment is the setting, basically, for the interview or observations. This plays an important role in the type of data that you will be collecting. Within the jazz metaphor, this becomes the performance venue. Is it a small club or a large concert hall? Maybe a wine festival or a backyard patio? What kind of people are there? Are they young? Are they old? Educated or uneducated? Are they hippies or hard rockers or members of Congress? As an artist, uh, how will they behave differently in a quiet studio or a loud bar or restaurant? In qualitative research and in jazz, understanding your data collection environment will help with contextualizing the data you are collecting for your endeavor. Next, inaction. Data collection through observing the research participant. For jazz, this could be data collecting by observing the artist's behavior as they perform. This could entail observing the musicians as they communicate to each other while performing, working together toward a creative goal. In jazz, data is also embedded in the individual lines of the music that each person is playing. Like in qualitative research, jazz musicians do what is called transcribing. In this, the musician listens to the music and write down musical instrumental solos, chords, song forms, using musical notation for analysis. The greater the musician as researcher's knowledge for music theory, in this case, the more robust the data they can retrieve. And lastly, the hang. As qualitative researchers, we strive to obtain clear, authentic data from the research participants. For this to occur, the researcher endeavors to create a safe, relaxed environment. In jazz, this important data collection event is known as the hang. The hang is where the jazz musician, as researcher, can gather more detailed and personal information from the musician. Usually informal, this may occur one-on-one or in a group setting. You might be around a table of other musicians having a beverage or outside of a venue. Here you can discuss topics of music and life. This time is important for the growth of the jazz musician. Some questions you may have prepared, but most you will probably improvise. Not knowing where the conversation will lead during the hang is half the fun. Like in jazz, the qualitative interview should be a mixture of intellectual refinement, deep reflexivity, and a genuine caring for the subject, thereby creating an enjoyable learning experience for all involved.
Dr. Melissa Spatevon writes of blues epistemology and methodology. The methodology is a social inquiry designed to use community knowledge to identify and address issues of democratic governance, spatial displacement, and educational equity. Dr. Vaughn realized that when she started to do her dissertation, she wasn't seeing her identities reflected in the kind of methodologies that were available to her. And she had a very supportive chair who worked with her and listened with her and guided her to deeper readings. And she developed this blues epistemology during her dissertation, just as you saw Dr. Stefan Vaughn. No, it's just a coincidence. They both had the same last name. Developed this idea of jazz methodology as he was thinking about his dissertation. And so I offer these early career examples so that learners can know that you can influence the methodology if you're not seeing yourself represented in it. Now, I do know you do need to have support. You need to feel mentally and emotionally safe. You need to have time. And maybe it's better for you just to quickly go through your dissertation. We have this joke that has a piece of reality to it, is that the best dissertation of course, is a done dissertation. We had to weigh that against the impact that we're trying to create also. And so I forward this because Dr. Melissa Vaughn developed this, as I said, very early in her career. And the rest of us who are more advanced in our career, we want to listen really closely to these ideas so that we can stay open and always be progressing the field and not draw arbitrary lines in the ground and say, no, this is research. That isn't. We want to always be in conversation with, well, what does it mean when we say something is research? So blues' epistemology then is an indigenous knowledge system of working class African Americans that documents histories of place, social interrogations, and visualizations of freedom. Dr. Melissa Vaughn is such a strong writer. She talks about it's an African oral tradition of recording histories and genealogies that emerged on U.S. soil. It's a Blackogenic protest to maintain creative authority over their bodies, voices, and design that focused on oral, cultural, and introspective data sources. And so blues' methodology then maintained the blues oral tradition through conversational interviews conducted individually, generationally, and communally. And when I first encountered this work, it really resonated with me for Dr. Stefan Vaughn's work in jazz. And so this work is then in the idea of blues. Blues methodology has an understanding that sitting for a spell, and from my Southern United States culture, this means come in and sit down on the porch swing or a rocking chair, come into the family room and visit and relate. Or visiting with a community member is a relational community practice. Perhaps the person that you're sitting with for a spell, for a time, you two might have an iced tea together, let's say. Blues' methodology has a conversational interview that aligns with daily life in the community because it's interactional and socially engaging. We don't set up necessarily an artificial time where it's not to say that that's an incorrect way to do research, but if you take this framework, it pulls on what people would see as a natural way to communicate. So maybe you would be talking to someone in their TV room or out in the backyard under a shade tree. You would visit with a community member, and it's a interrelational community practice. Conversational interviews aligned with daily life in the community because it's interactional and socially engaging in comparison to formal and rigid interviews. It also maintains a relational balance of power, so we can never fully get rid of our power as the researcher who is going to do something with this data at some point. And even in the most collaborative research, at some point, that data will most likely go on your Vita in some form and enhance your career. So we can never completely say that we've erased these power structures, but we can make efforts to minimize them. And then the interviews also took place in a mutually selected community space. To look very briefly, I know this is very brief for all of these, Dr. Janice Mackey also was an early career researcher at this time, and she developed the idea of Black finesse during her dissertation also. And she wrote, building a dissertation that honored the Black souls of my undergraduate participants, along with my own Black soul as a form of resistance to advance racial equity in higher education. So that was her goal. And at the time of this presentation that I'm recording, Dr. Mackey is a professor in the higher education system in Colorado. She also talks about that she attempted to employ an endarkened narrative inquiry that navigated building a dissertation that centered Blackness through the prism of conceptualized Black finesse. This is also an excellent example because she takes a really traditional methodology, phenomenology. Phenomenology can be in very set ways. Phenomenologists will discuss amongst themselves, we need to do it this way or we need to do it that way, and you follow it in a very particular way. And so she takes it and brings race groundedness to it, thus making it critical. So she gives it a really contemporary, necessary update, in my opinion, that allows methodologists to use it in critical ways. And through what she calls RGP, race ground phenomenology, there's an emphasis on decolonial praxis to unmake the canon of research. Black finesse reflects the expertise, flair, knack, artfulness and or skills through which Black students navigate structures and politics via their agency. Black finesse recognizes Blackness alongside and in spite of racialized experience, hence individuality and personality as well. Black finesse is not simply bound to an understanding of race and political science, but Black finesse is grounded in the ways of knowing that the students developed with their familial capital, prior racialized experience, individuality, and beyond. Now, the three examples I gave here were about research that was developed by Black Americans. And many of us that teach in Colorado or that are listening are not necessarily a Black American. So I want to hark back to what I talked about in the first course and say, we don't know what students we're going to have in the rooms we teach within, and we don't know what students they will have. And so we need to teach all the major methodologies and not just the dominant historical ones that were developed by whites. Then any kind of person can start to think about these and draw on them. So I immediately thought about with the one about blues methodology as a Southern person, the kind of hospitality rituals that we might have, story exchange, and it also fits really well the idea of yarning, which comes out of New Zealand. And as a white American, I would never completely use yarning, but it's a very rich methodology that we can think about how might we swap stories, and that's part of how we create a larger relational community. How might we create that in research? So this can be an inspiration as we deepen our understanding of the amazing and rich complexity there is in research. Up next, renewed in research. How might we live a lifetime of culturally responsive research?